Clarence is easily the most slept on show in history, and I can prove it to you with just one episode. If you've been around the channel for longer than any of my 4-month breaks, you know that I'm a big fan of this show. Yeah, nobody really gives a shit about it anymore, which sucks because this is legit one of the best CN shows of the 2010s in my opinion. If the big three of CN looks like this, then Clarence is the fucking Big Sean of Cartoon Network the way it's been slept on so hard. And on one of my days where I was just watching old cartoons looking for a video idea, I stumbled across season 2 episode 32, Capture the Flag. And it was while watching this episode that I noticed 4 aspects of the show that make it so good in the first place. So let's start off with the first and most important, the adventure. When you think of cartoons from the same era as Clarence, like Gumball, Regular Show, Steven Universe, Adventure Time, you'll notice that all 4 of them share a common theme. They're all 100% but fucking sane. They're all about things like crystal gems and raccoons and blue jays risking their lives for food. Clarence, on the other hand, is more grounded in reality, and you would think that automatically would make it more boring than all the other fantastic shows we had at that time. In fact, it seems to be a common theme that the more grounded shows like We Bear Bears and Craig of the Creek tend to get overlooked way more. But Clarence, a show about 3 normal childhood friends, can be just as fun as any show you can name. Capture the Flag is a half-hour special in which Clarence and 2 other kids, Chelsea and Julian, along with 3 other teams compete in a game of Capture the Flag, the prize being juice.
The juice it floweth freely, it mingles with our blood.
Clarence has a lot of episodes based on these simple ideas of kids just doing normal kid stuff. Playing games, messing around in a mall, getting stuck in detention, stuff that most kids have probably gone through. And in a weird way, I feel like the way Clarence tells these kinds of stories out of seemingly mundane things is exactly what makes them so enticing to watch. In this episode, the 4 teams, the Nuggets, Fairies, Wheelies, and Dinos, are all competing to steal each other's flags in order to gain control over the supply of juice in the neighborhood. Each team has water balloons that they can use to take out their opponents, and a home base where they can store their flags and prisoners of war. The adventure aspect really kicks in when the Nuggets attempt to infiltrate the Wheelies' territory to steal their flag. Clarence, being the easily distractible kid he is, instead of causing a distraction like he was supposed to, frees the fairies, who became the prisoners of war.
I want to get out or what?
Huh? But you're not on our team.
Yeah, I know that, but you guys look so bummed out and I could just free you.
He really is on his fucking Nelson Mandela shit in this one. For the rest of the episode, he's just seen freeing all the prisoners, convincing them that fighting for juice privileges just ain't it. While this is happening, Chelsea and Julian attempt to steal the Wheelies' flag, but they walk right into an ambush by an unknown group.
Juice, juice,
Get down!
juice, juice.
This is bad. This is bad. This is bad.
This raises the stakes of the episode, as now on top of essentially having to clutch the whole game by themselves, they have to deal with a new group that seems to be way more dangerous than any of the others, who not only have the other teams on their toes, but now the Wheelies' flag. But who exactly are they? I'll put a pin in this for a clip down the line. From here, the episode really kicks into high gear. We get a lot of cool animation like, look at this shit, son. How can you not like this? We also have a new mystery that the episode strings us along for.
Who are these niggas?
There's never a dull moment in this episode, or the show for that matter. There's always some cool or trippy animation to look at, or something is pushing the plot forward, or just something funny happening on screen. Which leads me to my next point, which goes hands in hand with the first. It's storytelling. The show is rooted in a sense of childlike wonder. There's not many shows around anymore that are just about normal kids who go on adventures that are seemingly larger than life, and the scope of what the show is actually about. Shows like Ed, Edd and Eddy, Kids Next Door, and Craig of the Creek are prime examples. They all seem normal on the surface, but when you actually go and watch them, they go above and beyond with their plots, despite their seemingly small scope, and Clarence does this beautifully in my opinion. They take a simple game of Capture the Flag and turn it into a full-scale war with epic water balloon fights and themes of a dystopian uprising, and not a lot of shows that have done it the way Clarence does it. In the beginning of the episode, we get a glimpse of the power dynamics between the 4 competing groups. The Nuggets and the Fairies aren't really seen as a threat because, you know, one of them has Clarence on the other team, and the other team is filled with a bunch of NPCs. But as we've seen before, Chelsea is an absolute unit, and Julian, he's just kind of there. Then we get Belson's team, who still have the right to take away people's juice because they won the previous edition.
Which means I still have juice authority. Now fork it over.
Ugh, Belson, come on! My mom gave us this juice.
Tell her I said thanks.
He's never really shown respect to anyone, let alone the people on his own team. This immediately makes you want to root for his team's downfall. And trust me, his downfall does come, but we'll get to that in a moment. We also see that the Nuggets have a prisoner of war themselves in Jeff, who doesn't seem to be too bothered by it, to be honest.
Oh, are you guys going out? You don't have to worry about me. I have plenty of hydration
And I'm more than happy to serve my sentence. I'm actually enjoying the rehabilitation process.
After Chelsea and Julian fail to get the wheelie flag, they decide to go and capture the dino flag in Belson's house. Belson appears from out the swimming pool, and I'm just wondering, like, how long was he there for, since he just pops out the moment they get there, and he reveals exactly what happened.
They came.
Who?
They came, and they took everything. Not just our balloon supply, not just our flag. They took our people!
They get taken to the headquarters of this new team, where it's revealed that the legend behind this uprising was none other than fucking Sumo. It just had to be. It was probably obvious from the beginning, but I needed to keep that audience attention like shit. Speaking of audiences, did you know that I have channel memberships? So if you want to have a dose of garbage content early, cool stickers, or simply just want to help your boy out, just click the join button and you'll know what to do, nigga. Now back to the video. Sumo, who never assigned himself a team at the beginning of the games, explains that his entire master plan was to take over the juice supply from Belson, who was greedy and constantly stole from others. He decided to assemble everyone in the game to essentially overthrow him in a sort of military coup and imprison anyone who doesn't do what he says. This leads me to my third point. The humor this cartoon has is truly unlike anything you'll find anywhere else. Even though I haven't really mentioned it in this review at all, a lot of this special is dedicated to jokes. Clarence, at the end of the day, is a comedy, but his storytelling is so strong, and the comedy just adds to the enjoyment of the show for me. My favorite moments in this special are typically the ones where the characters are just being over dramatic for no fucking reason. It has a lot of moments that border the line between cheesy and dramatic, but are done with just enough grace to make you laugh. Like this scene where Belson gets pelted with water balloons and the camera just cuts away.
Juice. Juice.
No, don't do it! No, don't! Go! No! Go! No!
Matter of fact, all of Belson's appearances are filled with jokes. I still to this day do not understand why they thought it was a good idea to strip this nigga, but it just adds to the overall absurdity of the situation. Like, they really did not have to do that. The whole situation with Sumo and his uprising is meant to be more serious and story driven, but I just want you to really think about what's happening on screen right now. Imagine walking through your neighborhood and seeing a bunch of kids wearing garbage bags, with this nigga screaming about a fucking juice empire.
For too long, Belson has held the crown. And for too long, Belson has taken sweet juice from the hands of thirsty kids. Well, I say, enough is enough! The reign is over!
It's so ridiculous that even when it's not trying to be funny, it just is. I think that's the true hallmark of any good comedy. But it doesn't have to try too hard to make you laugh. And it doesn't have to throw 50 jokes in your face and hope one of them sticks. The situations the characters are in and the way they treat each other is what leads to the humor. The situations the characters are in and the way they treat each other is what leads to the humor. Another great example is this interaction between the kids and Chad, who's Clarence's stepdad if you didn't know.
Are you guys playing those water balloons?
Shh! Chad, quiet!
You need another player?
No, Chad, just go!
Oh man, thanks guys!
Nigga, if you don't get away from these kids, what are you doing? But this isn't even the last time this grown, curious George looking ass nigga comes to play with these kids, because he comes back towards the end of the episode.
Hey kids! You guys still playing? I brought a lot of balloons. If thought you might want to throw them around a little bit.
Nah, but all jokes aside, this is actually something I appreciate in this episode, that everything that happens in the story happens for a reason, and nothing gets left out. There's this rule in writing known as Chekhov's gun, which basically says nothing should be introduced in a story without it being concluded in some way. This man coming back in the episode with a bunch of water balloons to play with these kids just happens to be a great example of this.
Send you to jail to rot. I will be king. It's only just a matter of time.
Think fast, Sumo!
Sumo discovers the location of the nuggets and fairy flag, and once he gets them, he wins. He sends in the troops to go retrieve it, but when they get there, they run into Clarence, who throughout this episode has been gathering a bunch of the jailed kids. And they have this super dramatic ass fight, which has some surprisingly good cinematography in it. In fact, the whole last part of this episode has some really tight framing, and you can tell that they knew exactly what type of emotion they wanted each shot to have. It sells all of the action and comedic moments of the episode, and it's indicative of the quality of the storyboarding of the show. Everything looks so planned out. My favorite moment has to be this whole confrontation between Chelsea and Sumo. Definitely one of the coolest things I've ever seen from this show. Clarence ends up convincing Sumo's troops to join him, which leads into the two groups finally confronting each other, and the final point of this video. Clarence is one of the most wholesome shows that Cartoon Network ever had. Moral-driven shows tend to get a lot of flack in animation, and I'd be a hypocrite to say that I don't see why. Oftentimes, these shows have to bend the characters or plots in such a way that the moral they want to teach has to work. On top of that, because you know that you're going to be taught some kind of lesson at the end of it, it can make the episode really easy to predict, and you can see the shit coming from a mile away. Clarence isn't one of those shows though. The writers don't make an episode to teach a moral. The moral is taught through the episode, if that makes sense. Clarence throughout this whole episode has preached that if they stopped fighting about who controls the juice, then people wouldn't have to be jailed or pelted with water balloons. And when he confronts Sumo, you can see that everyone would naturally gravitate towards his ideas, even Sumo himself. It's not forced, and it's not yelling the moral at you with some big monologue. You see it through the characters' reactions to Clarence's actions. And that's what makes it so wholesome to me. At the end of it all, they end up throwing Chad with these water balloons, and instead of fighting over something pointless, they just end up having fun, especially when they find another common enemy in Belson.
Wait! Whatever! Still king! Oh, I am king!
A happy ending like shit. The show is a masterpiece in my eyes. Now, I've got tons more episodes and characters that I want to go through on this channel, so let me know if that's something that interests you in the comments. Thanks for watching, have a good day, and take care.